This is my story. I'm Todd, and right now I'm worth $22 million. And I'm sitting in the same cheap diner I couldn't afford when I was 24. There's a woman across from me, Ashley, gorgeous, 31, and she's laughing at everything I say, reaching across the table to touch my hand. 10 years ago, she would have stepped over me to get to someone else. That's not the strange part. The strange part is I finally understand exactly why she's here. And it took me 10 years and $22 million to answer one question. Why did women treat me differently the richer I got? And why did it make me feel worse inside? There was one woman whose eyes never changed. Not when I was broke. Not now. She's the reason I understand all of it. I'll get to her. And I promise you, how that ends is the part I still lose sleep over. But first, you need to see the other four. $36,000 a year. I was invisible. Not hated, invisible. I'd stand at the end of the bar nursing one beer I couldn't really afford and watch women's eyes slide right over me to the guy in the nice jacket. I wore a $14 thrift store coat and a plastic Casio watch. I was like furniture. There's a question that runs through this whole story. 4 words. So, what do you do? Back then, I told the truth. Warehouse shifts, a paycheck that never stretched, 3 roommates and a mattress on the floor. And every time, I'd watch it happen. The polite smile, the glance over my shoulder for someone better. I'm gonna grab a drink, and she's gone. Every time. But there was one person who never asked me that question. Maria. She worked the counter right here. Dark eyes, this laugh that made the whole place feel warmer. She'd refill my coffee and just talk to me about her dog, about the regulars, about nothing, and we just enjoyed each other's company. One night it was just us, close to midnight, and she leaned on the counter and said, "You know you're going to be somebody someday, Todd?" And I laughed it off, because I was nobody and I was too broke to believe her, too invisible to say what I was actually thinking, which was that I came in 3 nights a week for her, not the coffee. Then the money started, and the first thing I noticed wasn't that women wanted me. It was stranger. They stopped asking what I did. And at the next level, everything changed. $120,000 a year. First real job with the title. I bought a couple of blazers that actually fit, kept the Casio, and overnight, the whole temperature changed. There was a woman at a rooftop bar, Vanessa, who 3 months earlier wouldn't have noticed me. Now she was touching my forearm, laughing a beat too long, angling her body so her knee pressed against mine under the table. "So what's next for you?" she kept asking. "Where's this all going?" And that's the tell I didn't catch at first. Nobody asked, "Who are you?" They asked, "What are you building? Where's this headed?" They weren't reaching for me. They were reaching for my trajectory, for the version of me that hadn't happened yet. Turns out there's a name for this. Researchers have studied what people want in a partner across dozens of cultures, and the same pattern shows up everywhere. Attraction tracks, resources, and status. I wasn't special. I was living out something ancient. A law I didn't know had a name until I went looking, years later. But I'll be honest, it felt incredible. Vanessa wrote her number on my receipt with a little heart. For the first time in my life, I was the guy getting chosen. I thought I'd won. I had no idea it was about to get strange. $400,000 a year, tailored shirts now, new shoes, a gold bracelet, a gold ring. But I still wore the Casio out, almost like a test I didn't know I was running. And the attention stopped being flattering and started being aggressive. Women approached me first now. At a lounge, a stunning woman named Sasha slid into my booth uninvited, hand on my thigh inside 10 minutes. "I feel like I already know you." And then I watched her eyes drop to my wrist, to that cheap plastic Casio, and something flickered across her face. It took me a while to name that flicker. She was doing math, recalculating, wondering if the watch meant she'd misread me, whether I was still worth her night. I was being priced in real time, with her hand still on my leg. Once you see that flicker, you can't unsee it. It's in every laugh that runs a half second too long, every compliment that lands a little too clean, and at the next level, it never turned off. Not once. 3 million. This is where it stopped being attraction and became a performance. A woman named Brooke, across a candlelit table, told me how much she despised guys who flashed their money, while ordering the $90 bottle of wine and touching my hand every time she laughed. The hair flips, the rehearsed story, the sister who just needs an investor, the friend with the startup. It was seamless, and every second of it was aimed at a role I was playing, not the guy underneath it. Here's what made no sense. The attention was constant. Beautiful women hanging on my words. So why did I feel hollow? Because none of it was for me. I sat in a packed VIP booth once, 3 women laughing at everything I said, and I quietly realized not one of them knew my last name, or wanted to. I was surrounded by people, and I'd never felt more alone. The richer I got, the warmer they got, and the colder it all felt. So I did something that broke the pattern completely. 22 million, and I didn't trust a single relationship in my life. So I ran a test. There's a name for it: stealth wealth, hiding what you have on purpose. I put the old clothes back on, the worn hoodie, the $14 coat I'd kept all those years, the Casio. Drove a beat-up loner instead of one of my cars. And I walked into the same lounges, the same rooftop bars, the exact rooms where a month before women had slid uninvited into my booth, looking like a man worth nothing. So what happens when a man worth 22 million walks in looking broke? You disappear. Sasha was there. She looked right through me. The same women who'd touched my leg and laughed at my worst jokes. Their eyes slid over me and kept going, hunting for the good jacket. Exactly like it was at 36,000. Full circle. And that's when it hit me. It was never me they were reaching for. It was the money. And the money attracts itself. Take the signal out of the room and I vanished, no matter what my accounts actually said. The man never mattered. Only what he could give them. Standing there, invisible again, by choice this time, I thought of the only person who ever looked at me exactly the same. Broke or rich. Maria. You're gonna be somebody someday, Todd. She'd said it when I was nobody, and meant it, and wanted nothing back. So I went to find her, told myself it was just to say thank you, to see the one real face in the whole story. But when I got back to the diner, she was gone, left a year ago, moved, and nobody knew where. And I realized something $22 million couldn't fix. I never even knew her last name. Because back when she was right in front of me 3 nights a week, I was too invisible in my own head to understand she was the only real thing I'd ever have. My money could open every door but that one. If you've ever felt the difference between being wanted and being valued, you already know where this is going. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Because this ending is the part I still can't put down. Remember the woman whose eyes never changed? Broke or rich, 36,000 or 22 million? That was Maria. And the reason she never changed is that she never once saw the money. She only ever saw me, the one time in my life that happened. And I was too busy feeling like nobody to reach back. So here I am, same diner. $22 million nobody in this room knows about. The same $18 Casio on my wrist. And an empty seat across from me, where the only person who ever really saw me used to lean on the counter and tell me I'd be somebody. Here's the answer to the question I opened with. The money never changed how women treated me. It just turned the volume all the way up on what was already there. Wealth isn't a magnet, it's a mirror. The richer I got, the clearer I could see who was reaching for me, and who was reaching for the number behind me. And the only one who ever reached for me is the one I let walk away. So here's the law. Don't chase the attention money brings. Find the one person whose eyes don't change when your circumstances do. And don't you dare let them walk away. That's the only reaction that was ever real. Most of us figure that out about $22 million too late. Subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.